Imagine this. You're standing just feet away from a massive crocodile. Its jaws are wide, teeth gleaming like daggers. But instead of fear, you're smiling. You think it's just a statue, a harmless zoo prop, perfect for a selfie. So you climb the fence, step into the water and hold your phone high, unaware that death is about to strike. In a flash, the statue comes alive. A 15-foot female crocodile named Lalay launches at you with explosive power. Your arm disappears into her crushing jaws. You're screaming, she's spinning, and in that moment, you're no longer a tourist, you're prey. This isn't a movie, this is real. It happened in broad daylight, caught on camera, and it could have ended in a body bag. So how did a moment of foolish curiosity spiral into a blood-soaked nightmare? And what ancient instinct turned this calm-looking reptile into a living weapon? Buckle up, because today's savage tale isn't just shocking, it's a brutal reminder of what happens when humans underestimate nature. Welcome to Savage Tales Animal Encounters, the wildest corner of YouTube where we dive into the most unbelievable, unfiltered and often terrifying moments when humans and animals collide. From shocking zoo blunders to near-death jungle encounters, we bring you real stories, real danger and real lessons about the power and unpredictability of the animal kingdom. If you crave jaw-dropping wildlife stories that will leave you breathless, make sure to smash that like button. It helps us tell more savage tales just like this one. Got thoughts, theories or facepalm reactions? Drop them in the comments. We read everyone and love hearing your take. Want to join our growing tribe of wild truth seekers? Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Because in the world of animals, every second counts and one wrong move can change everything. Share this video with someone who thinks selfies are harmless and maybe, just maybe, you'll save a life. Respect the wild, expect the unexpected. This is Savage Tales Animal Encounters. It was just past noon in the quiet coastal province of Zamboanga Sibugay in the Philippines. The sun was high and relentless, casting sharp shadows over the sprawling boardwalks and mangrove forests of the Cabug Mangrove Park and Wetlands Zoo. The air hung thick with humidity, the kind that sticks to your skin like a second layer, and the sounds of nature echoed faintly, chirping insects, distant bird calls, the slow trickle of water through marshy roots. The zoo was lightly populated that day. A few families moved between enclosures, snapping photos of hornbills and macaques, while others rested beneath shaded huts, sipping cool drinks. It wasn't a place known for danger, rather a scenic eco-park, where urban life gave way to the primal rhythms of the mangrove swamps. Among the casual visitors was a 29-year-old male tourist traveling alone. Dressed in shorts, flip-flops and a tank top, he moved leisurely through the grounds with a smartphone held loosely in one hand. From his posture and pace, it was clear he wasn't there to study wildlife. He was there to collect content. He paused at each exhibit just long enough to snap a quick photo, often inserting himself into the frame. Monkeys, turtles, parrots. But his real interest wasn't in the animals themselves. It was in finding something viral. Something that would make his followers gasp. Then he saw it. At the edge of the park, slightly off the main path and surrounded by a low chain-link fence, was a murky green pool. At first glance it looked empty, save for a scattering of leaves and algae. But there, partially submerged in shadow and silt, lay something massive, still, silent. A crocodile nearly 15 feet long, her rough scales blending so perfectly with the muddy water and stone that she seemed almost unreal. The man squinted, took a step closer. He tilted his head. To him it looked like a sculpture, a static display, a life-sized zoo prop. There was something about how motionless it was, no blinking, no shifting, no ripples in the water, that convinced him this wasn't a live animal. Despite the bright yellow warning signs attached to the fence, "Danger, crocodile enclosure, do not enter." The man saw an opportunity. He looked around. No zoo staff nearby, no other guests in sight. The area was temporarily quiet, secluded. He chuckled to himself. A smirk crossed his face. Then slowly he slung his phone into selfie mode, adjusted his hair and began climbing the fence. His flip-flops made a soft slap against the wire mesh as he threw one leg over, then the other, and dropped down into the shallow edge of the enclosure. The water, warm and stagnant, barely reached his shins. He tiptoed forward through the sludge, holding his phone up high, careful not to drop it. The massive reptile remained completely still, He laughed again, more nervously this time, and waved toward his phone's camera. "Just gonna get this one pic," he muttered aloud, as if to rationalize the insanity of his decision. He crouched beside the creature, flashing a grin, totally unaware that within just a few feet of him lay one of the world's most efficient killing machines. As he posed, he turned slightly to the side to get the full length of the statue into frame, the head, the tail, the jagged armor of its back. From that angle he still didn't see the eyes, low, dark and watching. They didn't blink. They didn't flinch, but they followed him. Lalay, a fully mature female crocodile, was neither sleeping nor unaware. She was calculating. Her instincts had been finely tuned over millions of years, when to stay still, when to explode. Her heartbeat slowed, her lungs filled silently. Her massive tail twitched imperceptibly beneath the surface. This wasn't the first time a foolish human had stepped too close, but this time there was no barrier, no moat, no glass, only water and proximity. The man adjusted his position again, now just 4 feet from her skull. His back was turned, his arm raised, the lens angled for one last perfect shot. And that's when her pupils narrowed, her muscles coiled beneath the surface, and her mouth, sealed shut for all those long, still moments, began to open. With a sudden, explosive surge, Lalay broke from her stillness like a coiled spring snapping free. In an instant, the illusion of a lifeless statue vanished, replaced by a thrashing force of prehistoric muscle and instinct. 15 feet of armored reptile propelled forward through the shallow water, her jaws gaping open to reveal 2 rows of jagged, yellowed teeth that glistened under the mangrove-filtered light. Before the man could even register the threat, Lalay's jaws clamped down on his right forearm with a thunderous crack. The sound of bone shattering was audible even through his scream, a shriek of terror that cut through the heavy, humid air like a siren. Her teeth sunk deep, puncturing skin and slicing muscle with surgical brutality. The force of the bite flung the man sideways. His phone flew from his hand, splashing into the pool, lost in the chaos. The crocodile pulled him with terrifying strength, dragging him toward the deeper part of the enclosure. His feet flailed wildly, searching for footing in the muck, but there was no escape. He was in her territory now. Then came the death roll. With terrifying speed, Lalay twisted her entire body in a violent spin. A blur of scales, claws and thrashing tail. The move tore through the man's arm like a corkscrew, twisting muscle fibers and ligaments beyond their limits. The sheer torque dislocated his shoulder instantly, while her teeth ripped open gashes that would later require over 50 stitches to repair. The man's screams turned to choking gasps as muddy water splashed over his face. But Lalay wasn't finished. Releasing his arm, she lunged again, this time sinking her teeth into his upper thigh. Blood sprayed from the fresh wound, turning the water crimson. Her jaws clenched down with crushing pressure, and again she rolled, spinning with a predator's precision, attempting to tear flesh from bone. His leg buckled under the pressure, and he collapsed into the water, now slick with blood and debris. Time slowed. For 30 agonizing minutes, the man remained trapped in the enclosure. His body was a patchwork of torn flesh and fractured limbs. Panic radiated from every movement, but escape was impossible. The crocodile remained close, watching, circling, daring anyone to intervene. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a zookeeper arrived with a slab of broken concrete. With one calculated strike, he slammed it down on Lalay's skull. The reptile recoiled just long enough for staff to drag the man out of the water and onto dry ground. He was in shock, shivering, moaning, barely conscious. Blood poured from his wounds as medics wrapped his limbs with strips of cloth to staunch the bleeding. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors worked for hours to close the deep gashes and stabilize his condition. Miraculously, he survived, though his body bore the brutal marks of the encounter. Dozens of stitches, nerve damage, possibly permanent scarring, and a story etched into his memory forever. Later, investigators would learn that the man had ignored multiple warning signs and bypassed clear barriers to enter the enclosure. When questioned, he admitted he thought the crocodile was a statue. "This kind of behavior is very dangerous," said Police Staff Sergeant Joel Sajolga. "Nobody should ever enter an animal's enclosure. He is very lucky to have survived." "And Lalay?" She returned to the shadows of her pool, as silent and motionless as ever, waiting for the next moment someone forgets that nature is not here for our amusement, but for our respect. What happened that day in the crocodile enclosure was a brutal reminder of how easily curiosity can cross the line into catastrophe. Wild animals aren't props, they're not attractions, they're forces of nature, and nature doesn't forgive carelessness. If this story made you think twice or gave you a chill, do us a favor. Smash that like button to support more real-life survival tales like this one. These stories aren't just entertainment, they're warnings. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in that situation? Have you ever witnessed an animal encounter gone wrong? We read every comment and your voice adds depth to these wild discussions. If you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another episode. Every week we bring you unbelievable and completely true stories of humans face to face with nature's raw power. Thanks for watching and being part of this growing tribe of wildlife truth seekers. Your support helps us keep these savage tales alive. Respect the wild, expect the unexpected. This is Savage Tales Animal Encounters.